you alluded to like basically going through what most people do with trauma and drugs, alcohol, being a man, joining the military, all that stuff. What was the turning point, or was there a turning point where you decided to change, and was God the focal point of that in the beginning, or did that come later?
I used to think I was my own God, or like I used to think that the universe was there. I didn't know what the universe was. Like I always knew there was something going on, but there was a time where I believed that like I could control everything. I could figure it out on my own. I was, like I remember telling friends, like I used to have friends who believed in God, and I don't even like call myself a Christian per se because, it's a religion, but it's the best way to kind of show who I am, like just having a relationship with God. But anyway, I used to have friends who would have this relationship with Jesus, and they would try to tell me, like, "Hey man, actually, you should come to church with me. You should do this thing." One of my good buddies, Maria, actually comes to mind when I think about her. Ingram, we were recruiting together, and she used to always try to pull me into Christ. And I'll tell you, like, I always had this idea where that I was capable of, if I took all the energy that I would give to God, all the energy that I would give to Jesus Christ, this Jesus Christ fellow, then if I just believed in myself enough, then I would be successful. And the truth is, in many cases, you can be successful here on earth, believing in yourself and persevering and pushing through. But no matter how much money you earn, like I have a influencer that I absolutely love, not even influencer, entrepreneur, Alex Hermosi. Multi-millionaire. I love watching his content. He's a great businessman. However, he's so empty and so dead and so hollow and so calculated and cold, and his eyes are dead. And I don't even know how beautiful his relationship with his wife could be, because I can just tell that they're both that way. And so it's like, I know that you can believe in yourself and become like that, but at what cost, right? Like how much more of life are you missing? And then what happens after the fact? So for me, it wasn't until I was just at a low point. I've had many, many low points, but I have a son. He's 4 years old. My wife and I have been married for about 2 years, and year and a half or so. Our anniversary is about 2 years. Our anniversary is coming up, and so we, my ex-wife and I, she's a great woman. We get along well. Very, very great mother. Like I'm so blessed to be able to have just such a healthy relationship with that woman, because I know so many people don't have that. And so, the point is, when her and I split, it was what it was. But the problem in that whole thing was the fact that I had this boy that I had like promised I was going to be this great dad, and I just turned out to be just like my dad, and it killed me. I mean, I just could not believe it. I thought I was so heartbroken that I had become like this. Like, oh, even still, man, I tell you what, like I don't raise him directly. I call him every day. I'm going to see him, every month I go see him because he lives pretty far. I got to fly there. But, it's like, it sucks. But like that was the part that just really broke me. And I didn't have God, and I was single now, and I was alone. And I've never had issues pulling ladies. That's never been a hard thing for me. So like, you can only fill the gap so much with meaningless relationships. And so like, I got to the point where I was talking to nobody, and I was just in this catatonic state of just like emptiness, not even depression. It was just like nothing mattered. I had become a total, complete failure in my life. And so I was just going to blow my brains out, man. I had a nice little 9mm Smith & Wesson M&P 9C. It was a great weapon. It was 12 round magazine, subcompact. And I was just going to blow my brains out, man. I was ready to rock and roll. It was it. I was going to call it. And I just something said, it was a Saturday. I remember something said, just like, give it one more day. Something said, just give it one more day. So I gave it one more day, and I don't know, I can't remember what it was. God didn't come down and speak to me. Nothing. I didn't have a vision. I didn't have any of this. None of this. Because God knows me. Look how I am already. And God has not, I've never even heard the voice of God. I've had some visions, dreams and things, and he's spoken to me in different ways, but he has not spoken to me in the way that I know he has spoken to some folks. And he knows that if he were to do that right now, I'd be in an insane asylum trying to get people to follow him. And so, but something told me, give it another day. And then something told me that night to get to church the next day. And I had never really been to church. I've been to church one time as an adult of my own. And that was with my friend Ingram 2 years before this. So that's the only church I knew in the area. So I Googled that church location, and it turns out they opened up a second location just down the street from where I was living, like 5 minutes down the street. So I said, okay, like I'm gonna go. I don't know what it was. I'm gonna go to church, and I went to church, and I remember I had the hat on just like this, and I had to cover my eyes, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like by myself, and it was just the most beautiful message ever. It was about just letting go. It was about just letting go and just submitting. And then they happen to do this one thing they did like once a year or twice a year, where they do a response weekend, or a response service, where the idea is like they'll have people pray with you, or you can go and write your pain on a index card and nail it to this cross, this big wooden cross, or you can go like light these candles. I'm like, well, I don't really know anything about these candles, and I'm too shy to go let these people pray for me. I don't know who these people are, you know what I mean? I'm not come on, man, I'm Dutton. I can't. These guys, like, whatever. So I'm like, well, let me just write this stuff down on this card here, and I write it down, and I nail it to this cross, and it's just oh God, I could cry, man. I'll tell you, like the way my life turned around, man, like so fast. It was crazy, man. Like just week, day by day, hour by hour, week by week. And like so it started with the pastor called me. That's how it started. The pastor called me that day because I had filled out the first time member thing. And the pastor called me that day and started talking to me, and he was like, hey, so thanks for coming to church today. Like, is there anything we could do? I saw here that you circled like worship. Like if you wanted to do something, you could worship. And I was like, well, yeah, I played drums my whole life, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, we're looking for drummers. And that's how it started with church, because he's like, hey, look, let me connect you with this guy. So he connected me with this guy. That guy called me. And then I started playing drums. I remember I went to the rehearsal, and I was drinking. I had drank every day for like a year up to this point. Every day for up to a year. At this point, I was drunk, like every day. I wasn't drunk at work, but I was drinking. As soon as I get home, I'm opening it, cracking it open. And so I remember going to this rehearsal like 2 days later to learn, to show them how I could play drums. I had to learn a song. They set it all up, and I play the music, and I'm drunk at this thing. They didn't. I don't know if they knew or not, but I'm drunk and I play, and they're like, "Wow, you're freaking good!" Because I was a world-class musician. The Marine Corps is the best at everything we do, and I was a drummer in the Marine Corps. I was a drummer, and I was, if I went down my history of like who all these special, whatever, no one cares. But the point is, I was really good. I still am. I was like a drum kit right there, but and I started playing in the church, and I just started to feel God in just such a whole way. And then I met my wife, and we started building this beautiful relationship, and things with my ex started getting better. My relationship with my son didn't falter. And then it's all these things. I started making money, and the coaching started, and it's just like, it is all because I asked Jesus to just step in. And like, I was the type of guy, man, I told myself I would never, ever hurt myself. I would never, ever be that dude. And at my lowest point, like I was totally cool with it, man. I was actually going to do it twice. That day I was at my house, but there was a time, it was just before that, where we had the Marine Corps birthday. And we did it in late October, and it was the Marine Corps birthday celebration, and it was in the parking lot. Everyone brought their families and stuff, and like, they were all getting ready for the ball, and I was just gonna blow my brains out, like right there, in the parking lot of the Marine Corps ball. Like I was just gonna kill myself because like I didn't care, and then I just didn't, because I was like, man, if I do that, then the Marines are gonna they're gonna find me that night or the next day. It's gonna ruin everything, and I'm gonna just, oh dude, I can't do that to these guys. So like I just didn't, I remember I had this cool Tesla, and it was like I was like, man, I got a glass roof, like it's gonna blow a hole through the glass roof, they're gonna see that. Anyway, like I just chose not to do it. I was calculating like the reality of like how the outcome, the secondary and tertiary effects of it all, and I didn't do it that day. And I went in there, and I'm dressed up, and I look all good. I'm smiling, I'm shaking hands, and everything's all good, And at this time, I had, the Dutton mindset. I think I had probably about 20,000 followers. I was people knew me from my recruiting tactics, and like I was not an unpopular person. Like I was somebody, and so like, to even have like all these accolades and like people, I was the #1 recruiter in Fort Lauderdale, and I was just this guy, and none of it mattered. Like I was going to kill myself.
You were empty.
It was empty. Yeah, man.
You just felt empty, and you felt there was something else, and that message apparently was meant for you